Bye! My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome to another episode of Duck Dogs, everyone. I'm your host, Josh Miller. And before we get going, let's make sure we say thank you to our sponsors, because this show, very, very honestly, does not happen without them. So a ton of gratitude to these companies, great companies and great people. First off, Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020 is what I personally feed my dogs at the kennel, and I would highly recommend it to anyone that is looking for a high quality premium food to put your four-legged hunting partner on. Eukanuba, www.eukanuba.com. Thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test rated kennel. They also have, while they have intermediate and large, they have the fan, they have the kennel cover, they have the kennel cot now. They have so many cool things they're coming out with for your dog to keep them safe and comfortable. So check it out, www.luckyduck.com. Also, thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs. Great people, great customer service, great company. www.gundogsupply.com. Thank you to Sitka Gear. I just got another article of clothing to test. I can't tell you about it, but what I can tell you is Sitka is the premium clothing for a reason, as it revolves around the outdoors, because the testing they put into these products is incredible, and I can vouch for that firsthand. So go check it out, www.sitkagear.com. And be sure to get all of your gear before the season starts. Thank you to Kent Cartridge. Kent, if you are looking for a great load to shoot this season, whether it's upland, whether it's waterfowl, whether you're looking for bismuth, whether you're looking for the fast steel, it is great products, and again, great people. So go check it out at Kent Cartridge. And last but not least, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your one-stop online program, video-based library that walks you through step-by-step training your own dog at home. So become a better leader, become a better handler, and get your dog to your goals with Retriever Roadmap, www.retrieverroadmap.com. Well, thank you, everyone, for taking some more time this week. I am taking, I'm going to take that back. What I was going to say to finish my sentence, I'm taking a little time today to catch my breath. And that was the plan, but it is not panning out that way. So here I am at night. Well, I guess it's not night. It's, 8 o'clock. Whitney took the kids to run into town to grab a few things, so I found myself with some time that I could just sit down, talk to the microphone. But we're rolling down August, so August 31st is tomorrow, which is the day that Whitney and I leave to head to Kansas for dove opener. From there, I will head to Texas for teal, and season is jump-started. So we're coming off August. So let me talk about August for a little bit, okay? August, okay, hang with me, because I don't want to jump to conclusions of why I'm going to say. August is the worst month of the year for us. It is the worst month of the year because so many great things come together at once. It has nothing to do with the things that are happening. It just has to do with everything happening at once, okay? So we have Delta Waterfowl, which I understand was last weekend of July, but it's basically August. Then Game Fair, then Game Fair, then Wisconsin, Waterfowl Hunters Expo, which was a great show. By the way, thank you for everyone. Tons of Duck Dog listeners. I had so many people come up and tell me that that they listen to the podcast, so I appreciate that. But all those shows are in the busiest month of the year for training, right? So not only for training, but for training owners. Training the dogs isn't the hard part here. Training the owners is where it gets frustrating. For example, this week alone, I have had 4 clients, all ironically from different states. That's not too true. 2 of them are from the same one. But all long distance clients that came in to pick their dogs up and to get trained in themselves. I gave the demonstration, showed what the dog could do. Everybody's impressed. Oh my gosh, I didn't know, so-and-so. I won't use dog names because then, some people can follow the dots and figure out who's who. But they're amazing. They're great. I'm so happy. Okay, now let's see you do it. And the dog doesn't look nearly like they did just 5 minutes ago. So the significance of the handler, the significance of the owner, or for an analogy, the significance of the driver in the car has a lot to do with the performance of that car or the performance of that dog, right? And there's not a more obvious place to me than the situation I just described. When you have an advanced dog, a handling dog that comes in, and you bring in someone that's not confident, that is unsure. I mean, whistles were going off when there shouldn't have been whistles. I mean, we had, one of our clients who's a great person, but when he was trying to cast, he looked like he was an air traffic controller. Like he'd blow his whistle, arms would be straight up in the air. And then it was like both arms would go left or both arms go right. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, did you not watch everything I was just doing? Did nothing I told you sink in? And I get that it's overwhelming. Right? I get there's a lot that an owner's trying to digest. There's a lot to think about. Okay, so how do I send them? When do I whistle? How do I whistle? How long do I blow the whistle? How hard do I blow the whistle? Okay, now they're looking at me. Now, what am I doing with my hands? Or shoot, my hands should have already been up to my chest. Now, how do I move my body? How do I move my hands? Where am I even running to? Like, where? There's so many things that I think I take for granted because I do it every day that it's very obvious to me how much I take it for granted when I'm in these situations. I'm like, whew. All right, let's all just chill. Let's all calm down. Let's take this step by step and let's ease into this, right? But when you compound the shows on top of so much client activity every day, on top of all your other work stuffs being done, on top of now we find ourselves to where I'm leaving tomorrow for 12 days. And I want to be spending kiddo time. I want to, there's so much to this. So that's why I say it's the worst month of the year for me, because I love all that stuff. I just wish it didn't all avalanche down at the same time. Is that fair, right? Like, it's all great stuff, but it's just all at once. And, I'm super happy with all my dogs that went home. I'm super proud of them. I'm very, very proud of the owners, because this year I had owners step up and I had owners, own, if you will, owners own the fact that they had a role and they wanted to actively get better, with that role. And how do I become a better handler? How do I get the most out of my dog? And I know it sounds silly because you spend that time, you spend that investment, not everyone is like that. This group was great. And I really, really enjoyed working with not only the dogs, working with the people. And I know it sounds sappy, but it is a bittersweet thing because now these dogs have been with me for 4 months, big parts of my life for 4 months. I'm very proud of the work we've done. Now they just hop in the truck and drive away. Realistically, never see most of them again because they're advanced. The owners are happy with where they're at. Probably not seeing them again. That kind of sucks, right now I'm dealing with my kids are moving up grades, quote unquote grades, because they're in what we call at school is really daycare. But so Colt, who's my boy, he's going to be turning 2 in about a month, and he just moved up, classroom. So, new teacher, new all this stuff. And my daughter just moved into pre-K. So, she's now moving up into more of a real formal type of a school. And I dropped them off at school today for the first time that I dropped them off in the new classrooms. And it hit me because I'm going through all this right now. It hit me. It has to be the same thing for teachers. Probably way worse, right? As far as the emotional connection. If you have these kids that, you adore, you spend, 8 hours a day with, 5 days a week for a year, and then it's, thanks, teach, moving on. Like, for any teachers out there, I would love to hear your feedback on that, because it is kind of tough, with the dogs. It really is. But, it kind of hit me. You see these things and, maybe a different light when you're in the moment, or you can empathize with it. But, kind of an interesting thing. So we've been getting a lot of questions recently on young dogs. And I'm just going to kind of break this down a little bit, because there's so many things that I think most of us, if we consider ourselves pretty proficient or pretty seasoned with the training part of things, there are things that I think we take for granted, right? So a lot of us want to talk about advanced work, or we want to talk about, diversions, or carrying and holding a line, or, very situational casts, things like that, right? Talk about tech ponds, right? And I geek out on that because that's what I love. But for general masses of people, something as much as, do you know there's a difference between an orange and white bumper, because dogs can't distinguish orange against a green background? Most dogs, is very, very difficult for them to pick that up. So that's what we use for blind retrievers, because they can't distinguish that bumper against the background. We use white when we're throwing marks. We want the dog to use their eyes. Okay. Now, there was a good portion of you guys out there that went, yeah, we know. But there's a probably bigger portion out there that was like, that was an aha moment, right? Smile and nod your head if you're with me. That's an aha. That I just did a video tip for a company here. It would have been yesterday that we did the tip, and the guy filming it, he's doing, because he's just like, we gotta do some tips. Give me a couple tips, and I did it, and he's like, oh my gosh, that's why my dog has been struggling so much. He has a young dog. He's been working with him on just marks in the backyard, and he's like, that's unbelievable. How did I not know that? Those are the types of things that is really rewarding for me to get that kind of feedback, right? So, I know that we all want to talk, high level, big level, but don't be apprehensive to me when I bring it back down to the fundamentals, because one, I think it's good that we all refresh back to it and we all refer back to it, but I think it's also great to make sure that we're helping everyone, right? Let's make sure we can elevate everyone, right? So I think that's really good. So but as a result of the young dogs, okay, it seems to me like there's a hope or an expectation that there's just this breakthrough, or these dogs should just understand things for a certain reason. A lot of times it seems like it's in that 4 to 6 month mark. I think because at this point, the dog is feeling more like a dog. They're getting bigger, they're getting leggier, they're getting more active. They're getting to the point that if you're doing treat training, you're doing some stuff in the house, they're probably doing really well at it. So it makes you excited, makes you think, hey, they've got this, I've got this. And then they go outside. And this is the big one. They go outside, and then all of a sudden they're all over the place. Okay. And I think there's this panic of, you're not like this in the house, why are you like this now? Well, they're like this now because there's a lot more distractions going on, right? They're like this now because you don't have their undivided attention. There's a lot of ways I can get out of this. There's a lot of ways I can test you. So here's a little story that I encountered the other day while I was at a store. So I was in a store just grabbing a few office items, and there was a mom, at least I presume a mom and her son. And the son, if I were to guess, was like probably that, 5-year-old-ish kind of ballpark. And he was in the toy section. I wasn't close enough to see what he was looking at. He was in the toy section, right? And the kid's name was Jeremy. So mom was going, Jeremy, let's go. Jeremy, come on. Jeremy, hey, we're going to be late. We need to go. Jeremy, come on. And like voice starts getting, higher. You can tell mom is getting frustrated, but she's probably a little aware of her surroundings. So she's keeping her cool the best she can. And then it happened, which was, if I can remember what it was. I'm gonna make it up because I can't remember. I had it written down. I actually responded to it in the Retriever Roadmap group. You're just telling this story, but it was like, Jeremy Michael, and the kid like perked up and immediately came over to mom. The dreaded middle name. My mom was the same way. When she used our middle name, oh, now you're serious. Before that point, we can push. And I had 3 brothers, all younger. So there were 4 of us boys. We could get into trouble. And we could also push buttons. So we knew as long as mom was saying, Josh or Zach or Luke or Jay, like as long as she was to that, like not to that point. When she used middle names, now she's serious, everything changed. With our dogs, what ends up happening is when you don't have a way to reinforce the command you're giving, your emotions take over. Okay, so let's just use the example. The dog, 5 months old, is in the backyard. You've been doing great with your treat training in the house. Everything's great. You go outside, backyard, and it's, Daisy, come. Daisy, come. Daisy, come here. Come. And you start walking over. Well, more times than not, people will say, if I raise my voice and really get stern, that's the only time she'll listen. Right? So all of a sudden, Daisy, get over here. And all of a sudden it's like, oh gosh, right? It's because you used her middle name. Right? Like you told her, now I'm serious. Now, none of us like yelling. None of us like getting to that point. But how we avoid getting to that point is we reinforce a command. I've said this over and over again. I'm going to say it again. We never give a command that we can't reinforce, especially when we're teaching. You don't give a command you can't reinforce. In that situation right there, if a dog has a 30-foot check cord on, you never say come until you're stepping on that cord. Now it's Daisy, come. And if she doesn't do it, pull her in with that cord, you reinforce. Daisy never has to learn that anything more than Daisy, come is you're not serious versus you're serious. Voice inflection is very important. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to hold true to that 100% of the time. I don't hold true to that 100% of the time. There are times that, guess what? I'm human, emotion takes over, and I'm going to yell at a dog, or I'm going to tell them to, especially in a dangerous situation, right? You're in a parking lot, maybe settling into a hotel. The dog decides, hey, I'm going to run out into the parking lot. Okay, naturally, your infliction is going to rise very rapidly to let the dog know you're serious. But you get the idea. If you are only ever serious when you get to know that level, that it might be your body language, it might be the the volume, it might be the growl that you give it in, it might be, and I don't mean growl as in like you're growling like a dog, but like for me, I'm like, knock it off, whatever it is. Like I get to that point, right? We're all going to have that, but the less you can get there and still deliver your message and still get the compliance, the better off you're going to be. None of us want to yell. That is not fun. It's not fun for us, not fun for the dog, not fun for anyone that's around you, right? That's embarrassing. Embarrassing for you. So I want to now talk about an idea that I've kind of stole this from different people I've heard. I've heard people talk about this as far as like motivational, inspirational speakers, but I'm tweaking this to make it dog related. And I think it's pretty freaking awesome. So I'm going to talk to you about this theory that I have. I'm going to call this theory the training piñata. Okay. So the training piñata, what do we mean by that? Well, if you think of a piñata and you think about you're at a birthday party, you're at a school event, they have a piñata, right? And you watch the kids take swings at this. Oftentimes, the big, strong kids are going to go up there first, and they're going to take their big whacks. They're going to have this big boom, contact. But the piñata is not going to break right away, right? It takes kid after kid after kid taking swings, making impact, breaking down this paper mache to weaken it to the point of breaking. At some point, that one contact hits, it's not any stronger, it's not any more forceful, but it's in the spot that has been weakened for however many swings. It breaks open, candy comes out, everyone's excited. Your training is like a piñata. So when you get to the point, I'm just going to use an epitome, right? You get to the point you do your first blind retrieve. And I watched it with numerous clients these last couple weeks run their first ever blind retrieve with their dog. Elation, ecstatic, tears in eyes, right? Like these were big moments. But there are a lot of little moments that led up to it. Treat training, obedience, simple marks in the yard, train retrieve. Like all these things led up to it. Things that you wouldn't think are a major deal. On-lead obedience. Those weeks and months that you walked up and down the driveway on a 4-foot lead, asking the dog to sit, pressure on, pressure off. That's what led to that control of having that sit at a distance. That's what led to having that control. That's what led to the teamwork. It's hard to see at the time because you're making these indentions and you're making these hits with the piñata that you don't see. Like just like the kids making contact, you don't see the hits that are making damage, but it's weakening. It's making an impact. You don't see it, but it's making an impact. It's the same thing here. You are making impacts every step of the way. Now, do people have tears in their eyes and literally jumping for joy when the dog sits on a leash in the driveway? When the dog waits to be released to eat? When you're throwing steadied marks in the backyard and the dog stays until called and then brings it back to like very, very, very few people can see those moments as impactful. This is making a dent into where I want to go. But that's exactly what it's doing. And likewise, if you are skipping over or moving too fast or you're not putting a focal point on these moments, you're never going to get the candy in the piñata Because I'm telling you, if you cannot get your dog to sit at your side, there's no way you're going to get him to sit at 150 yards. Shoot, screw 150 yards. How about 15? You're not going to get him to sit there if you can't have him sit on your side. These are the moments. So the training piñata. Think about that. The training piñata. Every step along the way is a little progress, whether you see it or not. You're making progress to your end goal. Now, everyone's end goal is different. You may want your dog to pick up, 5 birds a year at the game farm, and that's all you ever need, right? You may want to do that 300-yard blind retrieve and everything in between. But don't discredit the boring stuff. Don't discredit the foundation, the fundamentals, the things that make all that possible. Because if you do, you're not making those little hits on that piñata that weaken it and make it achievable to get that candy. You're skipping ahead and you're trying to do one big swing to knock this thing open. And it's not going to work. I think the training piñata is something we should dig into deeper. I think it's something that there's so much here that we could really pile into. And I'd like to do that. Not today, but I'd like to do that. But I would love for you guys to think about that and shoot me messages what your thoughts are. The training piñata. I think it's really good stuff. So I'm off to Kansas. Whitney's coming to Kansas. If you guys follow Riverstone Kennels, we're going to be doing a bunch of social stuff on our stories about our hunts. So make sure you follow along with that. I cannot believe season is here. It is absolutely incredible that it's here. So hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Make sure you follow along with us in Kansas, and we'll talk with you soon. Shoot me messages. The training piñata. What do you think? Later. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to Eukanuba, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.